Welcome to the second edition of Soul Journeys on the Otter Dock. We're bringing otter views from other people to the Soul Journey family. This week, we are honored to welcome a true innovator in the field of human and group engagement. Someone who has spent a lifetime midwifing new ways of being, organizing, and connecting. He is the co-author of Synergeering, Building Agility into Any Organization, a guide that helps us move beyond hierarchical structures towards more fluid, heart-centered, and collective ways of working. A passionate explorer of human potential, he invites us to expand beyond our mind, to engage our heart, body, and soul in drawing forth the wisdom that lives within each person and every system. His work helps unlock latent capacities for creativity, transformation, and the emergence of a beautifully unexpected. He stands as a warrior for the protection of human spirit, and he walks deeply with many sacred traditions, Western and Eastern mystery schools, alchemical, Kabbalistic, shamanic, and spiritual fellowships, bringing a rich tapestry of insight and reverence in every encounter. Besides that, he's one of our Soul Journey followers. May I introduce William Zybach?
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm taken back by that introduction, and it resonates with me. I've never really framed it quite that way. But this is a time of multidimensionality, and I find myself an avid learner, learning all kinds of things that seem to have some inner core connectivity or some freshness that needs to be brought to the systems. So that's kind of the alchemy piece of bringing different things together to experiment and see what emerges. My three archetypes are explorer, storyteller, and renegade. And what those do, the explorer, looks around and finds new cool shit and shares it with people. The storyteller, again, and I love telling stories, is just a way of communicating information in non-linear, dry, mundane kinds of ways. And the renegade, which is really the thing that has been the guide for me through my life, is breaking the rules for good. And one of the things about being a renegade, of course, is that there are systems that embrace them, but most don't. Because whether it's an individual or whether it is an organization, oftentimes they get stuck in their patterns, and then those patterns become neural pathways and they become habitual. They oftentimes don't see them, and some of them don't want to have the mirror held up to them. And but that's been my work, and I've been fired on a number of instances from things, projects and activities because of that, but I couldn't do it any other way.
Yeah. And this is what's happening, and you're here in the right exact time. For the last 200 years, since the Industrial Revolution and everything, we've been under this hierarchy realm or a royal realm or whatever. It's a tiered system.
Yeah.
And the worker class is always working its hardest. And what I notice is that as part of the working class and middle management and working my way up into more executive roles, but still I'm the top of the working class at that point. Mm-hmm. I've never moved into the other class systems. And it used to be that they took care of the people on the bottom.
Right.
They rewarded them, they took care of it. And then I watched it happen in 2008. They just went riff after riff and said, okay, we don't need to coddle these people anymore. We'll just pile up much work on them. If they don't perform it, we'll get rid of them and get somebody else in, because the workforce is overflowing now, right?
Yeah.
And that just killed any type of wanting to be at work anymore for a lot of people.
Right.
And what's happening, what I've been midwife for, is coming into a new way of communicating with people, getting out of our left brain thinking and getting more into our right brain thinking, where we see the total picture of everything, as opposed to, okay, you're this cog for this piece and you're this cog for this piece.
Right, exactly.
Because that's just keeping this division ramping up.
Right.
So I love what you're doing with going into these large organizations and saying, hey, let's come as a community where it's a co-created space as opposed to you do this and you do this.
Right.
And then watching you over the last week or two go into Africa in these little triads of 4 or 5 people and trying to explain how we can connect, not through our mind, but through our body, how our heart connects with somebody, how our information is transferred through this communication device that we have, and how energy flows from us, person to person. So when we're in this co-created space, people, they know about it before we get there because they can feel it.
Well, again, one of the things that has just emerged organically for me, and you know about this, Jeff, is, and the community does too, is crossing the street to talk to strangers. And to me, that has just emerged as a natural thing of paying attention to where there's receptivity and openness, and then coming and connecting with no agenda, and then seeing what emerges from that. And that was exactly what happened in Ghana. Of course, I went to Ghana under the auspices of going to present on AI for Good based on a case study that I did with a small global group last year. And that went really well. But then, after the conference was over, it was time to get out and enjoy the city. And so I Googled Ghanaian restaurants, and I got a Ghanaian sea fishing. And I thought, oh, that's going to be awesome, right on the ocean and all that. So take an Uber over there, and I get there, and I sit down, and the young woman brings me the menu, and I look at it, and I said, do you have it in English? Because it looked Chinese to me. And the young woman said, no. And again, this was fascinating. So I could see that they had hired young Ghanaians to do the service work, but the Chinese folks were back there, and it kind of all made sense running things. But one of these young women had the application that you can put on your phone to take a picture of
and look it up.
And so then she brought the menu back to me, and I thought that was delightful. That was her own thing that she was doing. It wasn't part of her work. And I looked at it, it's like, this is Chinese food, and I'm really after Ghanaian food tonight, so I'm going to have to excuse myself. I then go to Chez Clarice's restaurant, because I Googled local Ghanaian food. And this ended up being a French place, but a local, that's part of the community in Ghana, and had a wonderful time. And one of the biggest challenges that I had there was if I admitted that I was not married, they tried to marry me off. So Clarice tried to marry me off to her sister, who's in the Ivory Coast, didn't speak English, but, I said, and so I had a delicious meal, had Mohammed, who was my server, because I love interacting with the servers, because they always have a perspective that's really cool, and they serve. But we had a wonderful interaction, and ultimately he kind of inspired me to go around the neighborhood. And so I'm headed to a place called Level 4, which is 4 or 5 blocks, and walking through the neighborhood, and I got my cowboy hat, I got my pearls on, and I'm headed down there, and I have just some beautiful interactions with folks.
What I'm saying is that you are here to help us. To create something.
We are creating together a community down here.
What we get
We do help each other all the time, but having someone come up and help us is kind of like, it means that they know something we don't, and that's not true. We know, we have greater wisdom amongst ourselves than somebody from the outside.
Okay. All right. So we understand now.
one of the nice things about Ghana is English is the primary language, so it was easy to communicate. I am just about there. I can see the sign for it, and this gentleman comes out, and his name is Coffee. So in Ghana, depending on the day of the week that you were born, you get a name. And so Friday is Coffee. Coffee is a leather worker. He makes purses and shoes and all of that. And he's interested in maybe making something for me. And we get to chatting, and then he introduces me to 3 other gentlemen. Well, the 4 of them are the elders for the Osut community, which I had no idea about, but that's a community that's been around there forever. And they're a small group of people who are one of the most love-centered groups I've ever met. I spent the evening with them, and we shared stories, and we opened our hearts, and you know, talked about quantum mechanics and physics and Kabbalah and stuff like that. And they were all aware of that. And it occurred to me in that moment that, because I've been in this transitional space of, after leaving corporate, of what am I going to do? And it occurred to me that this was exactly what I wanted to do. This was a community of love, and they were working on how do they build commerce and get revenue and build a community so they can evolve the community. And so they asked me to come back the next day and talk to the community.
So we started by connecting with each other through the breath. That is only a reminder that we're also connected by the unseen, which is our heart. And now we are present. And what we do for this short period of time is let go of thoughts of the future, let go of thoughts of the past, and be in the present moment. Being in the present moment is the 0 point in quantum mechanics.
Which I did, and it was a really a delicious interaction. And now I'm meeting with them every Tuesday, and we talk about sharing our gifts. I was headed down to my spiritual community and my monthly spiritual community in North Carolina. It's a 3-hour trip, and so I start chatting with my AI, and we build a website for the community in that drive, that 3-hour drive. And so again, and I've shared with them what I do, and they're very interested in that kind of thing because they don't have those. But to me, that epitomizes that idea of. And again, when I travel, I set the intention that the universe opens things up for me, that the universe wants me to be involved. And these are the kinds of things that I end up doing. And to me, it is exactly the description, one of the culminations of the description that you gave at the beginning about who I am and what my journey has been about.
Yeah. And this is what I was noticing. I'm privy that he sends me, I put him on an assignment when he went to Ghana to send me what he was doing out there. And I'm watching these conversations you're having with them. And even at the UU, where we have everybody who's accepting of everybody's spirituality, you walk in there for a how to build your community thing, and you start talking about heart-centeredness and how we're connecting with our vibration and all this stuff. And what I was noticing is that half the group fully understood it because they're so connected with their heart.
Yeah, yeah.
But you had a couple people there asking you questions about it, like, I'm not understanding how you're telling me that you can understand what I'm feeling.
Yes.
And to be a certain way. For the last 2 years, I have been losing my mind, getting out of my mind, and I've studied enchantment, alchemy, archetypes, and being a warrior for the protection of the human spirit. These things all came to me as things for me to study, to be prepared to come here. And I know that the only solution that makes sense for you all is the ones that you create, and I am part of you. So that I know that didn't answer your question, but I'm answering the question from my heart.
I know you are.
Can I come in?
But
Yeah, I just want
Okay,
to
yes.
Yeah, can I come in?
You can.
Yeah, I love my brother's questions.
Yes.
The way he's putting it.
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's clear and direct.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
really love
He's
it.
good at that.
He's a very no. It's very clean, direct.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
to know where he's going
yeah.
and how the point is it. But you know, from the insurance that we have to give our people, because we are all one now. Mr. William have done his first step.
What's your name?
With Kader.
You are with him.
Yeah, we are the
the
group. We are
four
the
people
group.
I
So
met last
you
night.
people don't worry. Very soon we'll give the paper so that you put
So
your
it's a
name.
partnership or
Yeah,
it's a joint?
it's a full
co-working.
partnership. We are all together. Co-working. Nobody, you understand? We are all
Pardon
together.
me if I'm asking too much.
No. You are right. I love that. No, I love that. We love that. Ah, bro.
If you didn't ask, how can you know?
No, we love that. That's why I want to.
That's why we are here.
I have a lot of questions for you.
Yes.
So one of your gifts is perspective.
Yeah.
And
real.
when we look at
Yeah,
the
cool.
various gifts
What's
that
the matter
you've
with us?
shared, we think,
But-
ooh, what alchemy could we use to address the challenges that we have?
Williams, how did you figure it out?
What's that?
That my gift is of perception.
Just because I just listen to what you say, everyone, and I just mirror back what I'm seeing and hearing.
You can get it.
Maybe that's the version I want you to see or want you to know.
No,
it
but
doesn't
it's part of your
depend.
gift. No, it's part of what you are bringing out. Maybe you think that you have it more, but
You
you have
never
more.
understand people. People are different types altogether. We are all different breeds.
Yes, exactly.
We all think differently.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're special than me.
No.
That's my point.
We're all
So
equal.
my point is, how did they know my gift?
Because you told me. You told me in the way you presented yourself and the questions you asked, the energy. The words are only 1/3 of the meaning. The rest of the 2/3 is the energy. And so I sit and as you're talking, I'm listening.
Well, thoughts become things, they say. Well, the reason why I'm questioning you is because of the theory you gave us right now about the perspective, challenges, passion, and all that.
Right.
Is that Patrick? That was Patrick.
Okay, but here in America, it's like, oh, he's talking that shit. I'm moving off, right?
Exactly.
But he was engaged with you on that.
And the beautiful thing about that is that I acknowledged the gift of his skepticism.
Right.
And the community recognized him for that skill set. And at one point, he asked me, he said, William, will you be my coach? And he said, I don't want any of that conceptual conversation. I just want a yes or no. I said yes.
That's his power and your power, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna do a little non sequitur. So I'm gonna talk about the AI activity, the conference, and the journey that we went on, because AI is such a cool tool, and it's really important. And Peter Block was there, and Peter Block is like the Oprah Winfrey of management consulting, and he came in via Zoom, and he said, AI is interesting. And I love the understated that. He said that ultimately those tools and the technology are all about this is the field of organization development. Why he was involved in starting this back in the 50s and 60s was to shift from those boxes and those roles to peer-to-peer conversation. And that's the magic. I call it the wisdom in the system. Mm-hmm. It's the magic when we get folks together and we say, bring your head, your heart, your body, and your soul into this conversation. And let's see what emerges as a result of those interactions. To me, that's part of the magic of group process. One of the things that I did with this case study, which was the Global Archetypes at Work Guild, 80 people around the planet, and I came into the group and there was no energy in it. And the leader, the author, the amazing guy, Lawrence Hillman, he took 40 minutes during this 1-hour meeting. But he mentioned that he really wanted the guild to be self-organized. Because ultimately, in those boxes, playing those roles, we don't have that energy, and you don't feel that energy. And that energy is the energy that's the possibility for all kinds of creativity. So I call Lawrence up, I say, so you want to have this group self-managed? And he said, yeah. I said, what ideas do you have about how to make that happen? And like with many, many leaders I've worked with, I want to be efficient, agile, effective, blah, blah. Well, how do you want to do that? Do you have any thoughts? Nah. I read an article about it, or I heard about it, it's out there. And so I said, cool, I've got some ideas. He said, okay, why don't you go ahead and do that? So what I did is I sent out a note to the 80 members saying, I need, and again, this is connecting with this group where they're at. These are people who do archetypes and they're spiritual people and all of that. So I could use this particular language. I said, I need midwives to design the way we're going to do the rebirth. We'll do 3 months of that, hour-and-a-half meetings. Then we'll do the rebirth, hour-and-a-half meetings for 3 months with the group. And so one of the things that I did with AI, and because I'm using this as a case study to illustrate AI for good, in this conference in Ghana, again, I didn't know that that was going to be the case, but it ended up being that way. I said, I want out-of-the-box design thinking, because I've been doing organization design for forever, and I know the standard ways to do it, 5 different approaches, blah, blah, blah. None of those actually work. Those are concepts, and the concepts are abstractions from reality, so you have to adapt them, but that's a good starting point. It gave us 8 different designs, like spiral and rhizomatic and mycelium, different kinds of ways, which was way cool. And the reason that I used AI is because most human beings, when they're faced with a challenge or a task, come up with 4 or 5 ideas, maybe 6. AI can come up with 100. Mm-hmm. And that then expands our capability. There wasn't anything in there. There were a bunch of out-of-the-box things, but there wasn't anything that this community that I'm working with could not relate to. So that's one of the powers of AI, is to expand our capability. The other key piece, and this will be in the talk that I do at UU, is that when we are using AI, it provides us with the ability to expand our consciousness, so we get to bring in more information, but ultimately it's that interaction that the people have with that. So every time I do AA, like with the AI for the website for the OSUS community, I frame it all out and I send it to them. Mm-hmm. Because without that human ingredient, AI needs to be supervised, and it needs the human perspective.
I find it more than just being supervised. I use AI as a creativity tool. Uh-huh. And I'm a creative artist. I do digital creation, but I'm not an artist.
Right.
I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't sculpt. But AI can take my expression and make it exactly as I tell it to.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm looking for this exact thing, and I could spend, as a digital creator, 4 months trying to find the perfect picture.
Right.
I can either buy from a photographer or pay to an artist. That kind of matches what I'm looking for, 60, 70%.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But I can tell AI what I'm looking for, and I'll get it back 95% on the first shot.
Yeah.
And then I'll do some tweaks, and I'll get 98%.
Yeah. Well, and that's the beautiful thing about using a linear system that has a lot of data to give us, and to me, this is what we did with the guild too. We had those 8 different designs. I say, okay, give us some images. Because again, the images convey so much more than just the words. We had a description, had images, and then we had the humans look at those, narrow them down to 3 that they wanted to go through the rebirthing process with, and then come up with visuals. Those visualizations just helped people get the beyond language, get what the essence of the words were describing. So that's and you're absolutely. I mean, it just pops it out in a minute or 2.
And so I took a newsletter that we're doing, the Connections newsletter, and last year I'm doing all these block pictures and whatever.
Right.
And now I'm just doing the whole thing like AI is taking over.
Sweet.
Well, and what my point is, I have people saying, well, that's kind of like cheating, or that's using a computer to do what an artist does. And that's taking the art out of it.
No. And there's nothing wrong with that, except we have so much more capability than that. And AI is beginning to allow us to open up to those things that we thought we could never do. And it's allowing us to have creativity in ways.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah,
what I was
yeah.
saying is that it's not using your creativity; it's pulling it out and enhancing it and
Yeah, yeah,
creating
yeah.
it. And since I don't have the skills to draw the way I want to draw, it will give me something back.
Yeah.
But I don't always accept that as what it is. I'll say no. I'm looking for
Yep.
this.
Yeah.
And then and every time I say no, I'm looking for this. At first, it'd take me 30 times to get something. Now I'm telling you, the second time, it's like 96%. Right?
The piece associated with that we have to kind of balance it with is I noticed early on that my AI was always just giving me the positive. And so it was kind of reflecting me. And so part of my training of the AI is to be more critical of the things that I do. And it's doing it in a really good way. And so it not only expands our consciousness, but as we train it, it learns about us. We learn about it. And this is our work. Our work is to make sure that we just don't get in our own echo chamber, but to encourage it to also show us different perspectives and let us know if I had this the other day. I was applying for a job and I put together some stuff, and as I'm applying for jobs now, I'm being clear that I want to be in a heart-centered organization. And so I put stuff together, and the AI came back and said, nah, you don't want to philosophize, you want to get an interview. So, oh shit, you're right. So that's also really helpful. It helps us attend to our shadows as well as our strengths.
So, AI, powerful tool, new way of connecting, using old ways that we used to connect into modern reality of how we've turned it into, is a tool for us to bring it back to us as humans.
Mm-hmm.
So taking the artificial and the human and all that together is what our tools are, is helping build a full system of where we're going.
Part of what is occurring with the fear around AI is that, the world mind, which I say is all social media and all of that, they've got a big agenda. And whether it's conscious or unconscious, and that's to create fear and make money. And ultimately, many people have the idea that they're going to lose their jobs. So I'm going to this conference on AI for Good. And so the first day of the conference, I have a little chat with my, I call her Sage Chatmeister. And I say, give me a visual of, and in this particular community we use, it's the term called use of self, which is simply we got a head, we got a heart, we got body and soul. And that's been part of the core of this community. I said, give us a visual of where AI is good and where humans are good. And it spit it out to me, and I shared it on the first day of the conference with folks, and it's like, wow. But the key thing about that is that in 1957, IBM that was the year I was born, so I remember this. Somebody gave it to me on my 50th birthday. IBM had a commercial said, talking about computers, and it said, well, the idea of computers is, and this technology is that it takes the dumb work out so we can do the smart work. And again, that's a linear thinking, but ultimately, not until now has that really happened. The smart work, the biggest smart work for me is me being able to push my finger and have my computer come on and not have to remember a password. Because that's an analytical thing, and not everybody's that way. And so with the AI, it's allowing us really to do the creative stuff that we need to do, and augmenting us with other capabilities so we can do that. And the really nice thing is that, and I do this in design workshops. I put an X on the floor and put head, heart, body, and soul, and I say, where are you at? Which of these do you use in your job? And most of my corporate folks, they all end up going over there to the head section. And I say, and then, so So what does that mean? And there's, oh well, we're missing some stuff. There's 3 times more capability in those capabilities that we have that have been colonized by the left hemisphere, by thinking, by the masculine. And so don't cry, don't feel, don't, your body is only the thing that carries your head around so we can do this work. And so I think it's really important for us to recognize that there's an incredible amount of possibilities and opportunities for people who really are heart, body, or soul based to do work. And I see it happening all over. People are moving out of the traditional boxes in corporations, and they're getting pushed out. They have been before because there's no love there. But they're finding work and passion in those areas, and that's lighting them up. And then they get to really find themselves rather than who they thought or were told they should.
You're saying the fear around AI.
Yeah.
And the fear I see around AI is the computer and human aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
And all the futurists for the last 40 years have been talking about AI. From Kurzweil was talking about nanotechnology, where we're going to throw robots in our body,
Right.
and it's going to clean everything out, to putting computer chips in our brain so we can think faster and do all
Right.
that. And AI is making that all possible now, and that stuff is happening now.
Yeah.
But that's for all the left brain people who are saying, I need more power.
Right.
Us right brain mystics happen to know that on this right side, or our left eye, we can see an infinite, the AI of divinity.
Yeah.
And whenever we need to tap into that extra boost, we just shut off our thinking mind.
Yep.
And all of a sudden we got all the answers, we got all the creativity, we got all the AI capabilities right here in our head. So we don't need the chip. We just need to retrain our mind to think right.
Well, and that's the natural projection of the linear left brain thinking and its domination, that we need to put that in us in a chip. It's like the Akashic records are there. We've got access to them if we can get out of our left mind, which we've been so conditioned into for 3,000 or 4,000 years.
It's the progression of how things happen. So life on Earth started 4 billion years ago with a single cell organism.
Right.
Right? And then it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew into all this stuff.
Yeah.
And humans are considered the highest because our minds are put towards this thinking side.
Right.
Rationality.
Right.
Functionality, all this stuff that we
Right.
can do. And that left side then, this is a book I'm reading now by Gilchrist, The Master and His Emissary.
Oh yeah,
The
I love
master-
Ian.
The master is the totality of it all, right? And in the totality of it all, we don't even have a body. We're just particles floating.
Yeah.
And that cutoff comes when we go tap into the left brain, and we can see, oh, we're separate from all that, and this is our purpose.
Right.
And so it's given us drive. It's given us stuff for what our purpose is.
Yeah.
But what it's doing is its focus is to create the divide to its furthest extent.
Right.
So they take it all the way back to the totality again. Okay, we're down to the quantum particle, the Higgs boson.
Right.
What happens after the Higgs boson? It's God, right?
Right.
No, it's the divine realm again.
Yeah.
Right? So it's outside of this little box that we're put in that's called reality.
So I love Ian. I'm kind of a Ian groupie. I met him twice in talks that he was having in Raleigh and Savannah, and to me, because that's my learning. I'll travel to learn something new. And what he has done is helped move into academia and philosophy that which mystics have always known.
Yeah.
And that domination, that colonization of the left hemisphere and the right, the left hemisphere is delusional. It thinks it knows shit.
But the people who think left say, well, that delusion is on the right hemisphere.
Well, so again, but I'm not overly concerned about the people who say that. I don't pay a lot of attention to the critics. And the reason I don't is I pay attention to the people that I resonate with. And his teachings and what he's saying is he's opening up that the shit show that we've ended up in because of the left hemisphere domination to a broader world. So it used to be just the mystics who understood that, but now the common people are understanding that. One of my other communities, Lee Harris and the Z's, who are just Lee channels 88 entities and one at a time. They talk as a voice, but he has helped me navigate the shit show of the world, and because they know they recently said, you know, there are a few handful of people on this planet who have dominated and controlled the planet for 2,000 or 3,000 years. And the work that we're doing now is moving us out of that. One of the other, Pam Gregory and Dr. David Clemens, I was listening to them, that's another. Pam Gregory is like the Oprah Winfrey of astrology, amazing person. They were having a conversation about telomeres. He's a telomere expert, the things that replicate our cells, and that part of the density in our body is what reduces our lifespan. Well, he's also a channeler, and so then he goes into this channel, and in the channel he says there are multiple races out there in the universe who are plotting what's happening on the Earth, and the reason that they're plotting what's happening on the Earth is that our timeline now was inconceivable 10 years ago, just 10 years ago. And people can take heart, because every time somebody creates something, has joy, has love, connection, community, those are the things that are raising the vibration on the planet. And now we're more available to those energies that are going to be starting to come in because we have done the heart-centered work. And there's, you know, you don't hear that in the world because it doesn't make money. It's not dramatic.
Right. It's not doing what we're trained to think that we're supposed to do. We're supposed to come out from the oneness and dive as deep into everything else that we're doing.
Right.
And when we come back to the oneness, that's what the mystics do. And if you look at everything from Sufism and everything, it's the mysticism is that once you bring the divine into your body, it centers in the heart, and it fills you up, and you want nothing to do but share it with everybody else.
Right. Yeah. So in the archetype training, it's a right brain training, so it's an embodied one. And so here's the sovereign, as opposed to people who we have playing those roles now. We bring down the energy. You could add through the crown into the heart, and then radiate it out. That's like hierarchies in nature which facilitate flow. When we begin doing that, rather than the left hemisphere is good only at three things: control, manipulation, and grasping.
Oh, I as a right brain thinker, I want to argue that.
Good. Go ahead.
I think the left brain has its purpose and the right brain has its purpose.
Oh yeah.
And together as a whole, it's perfect. But when you lean towards one side or the other, then you're missing out on what the other side does.
Right. But let's go back to Ian's title on his book, The Master and the Emissary. Right. He's very clear. The left hemisphere thinks it's the master, and it's actually the emissary. If we think about it from the perspective that our right hemisphere is connected to our body, our heart, and our soul, that's the channel that has much more capability. But the left hemisphere, again, because it draws from the memory, it's not like the soul that is looking at the future. It draws only from the memory, and it thinks it knows how to love, connect, be innovative and creative, but it's like AI in that fashion. AI doesn't know how to meditate. It does not know how to reflect. It does not know how to create absolutely fresh, original things. It's pulling from that history, and it looks like it knows everything. It does not. And so it kind of mirrors the left brain. And again, this is a conceptual, and I know I'm overpainting this, because ultimately, as a Gestaltist also, everything is a polarity. And the question is, when we're in a shit show, that means we need to move from those polarities that we've identified with over to the other polarity,
Right.
masculine, feminine.
And that's how the universe works.
Yeah.
That's how politics
Yeah.
works. It's a cyclical fact. It's actually like a sphere. It
Yeah.
comes back to itself. And so we were brain thinking, then we went deep into the left brain and back, and vice versa.
Yeah, we're simply out of balance. That's all.
Right. And so when we come back into balance, then we're going to be total humans, superhumans.
Right.
Right. And so
Right.
that this right brain side is bringing in all this superhuman consciousness that I'm talking about. Left brain side is how do we use it in this reality.
Right. And if we want to bump that up a little bit, as a Kabbalist, we have what we call the tree of life, and it has a center pillar, which is balance, and it has two other the pillar of severity and the pillar of mercy. Pillar of mercy is about mercy but not weakness. Pillar of severity is about making tough decisions but not being cruel. And it's lined up in polarities. It's got masculine, feminine, divine mother and father. It has mercy and severity. It has thinking and feeling. And so from that mystic perspective, and again, this is the universe and we're a microcosm of it, what's above, so below. It's suggested that that's the way the universe is organized. And it is all about balance. However, what do we do when we're just masculine? Again, masculine on its own has a tendency to want to find truth. And then when it finds its truth, it wants to obliterate all other truths. We see that in religion and business and all of that. But the divine masculine, the embracing, the balancing of the polarities, the right and left hemisphere, has space for every other truth.
Yeah. And the dichotomies you're talking about is, I see the biggest one is out here and in here.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And when we come in here, and this is where the difference with the science, the left brain says, no, everything is out here.
Right.
Everything in here doesn't exist because I can't figure it out. I can't see it, feel it, taste it, use my five senses. Because it totally cuts off the 1,000 other senses you have after those five senses.
Yeah.
Right? The intuition, the connection to things.
Yeah. You know where that started, at least from my perspective? Descartes, I think, therefore I am. He also looked inside and he saw a shit show and he said, oh my God. And this is also where they get the concern about groups of people.
Right.
But that's our work in there. And he didn't see that. The Buddha, on the other hand, said, I think, therefore I am. I feel, therefore I am. I love, therefore I am. I move, therefore I am. And that's the wholeness.
I am, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's next for what you do?
So I'm in this dilemma between whether I do some global stuff, because part of what I've done is, and this is so I'm a warrior for the protection of the human spirit, and I've added in service of the divine feminine, because that issue of the balance, the masculine burnt with women at the stake, not because they were magical, but because they challenged the masculine. So I am in service of that myself, and I am looking to see through inner meditation and stopping my mind and opening me up, and you've helped me with that a little bit about using my senses, my heart, my gut, to sense into things. I get very different answers that way. And the question is in terms of what's showing up, is it something that I do globally because there's attractors there, or is it something that I do locally because there's attractors there? And so I think that's the question that I'm in, and to me, it does get back to, like in my in Heritage Point, where I brought the community together, have Island of Sanity conversations, and these are from Meg Wheatley, my warrior trainer, and the one rule in these Island of Sanity conversations is no discussion about anything outside the community. When we and the conversations that we've had, and my community is there's a lot of polarity in there. People get together and they just come together and they have great experiences, and what they report. So to me, and that's the same thing that I did in Ghana. I did some consulting with we all did consulting to government agencies, and the same thing, you know, getting the people together and asking them, you know, what their passions are about working for that organization, and then what were the challenges, and then getting them to realize that in terms of the operating challenges they had, that's really good things to work on. In terms of the systemic issues, because what I did was we had 8 agencies that we were going to go out, break into groups and go out to. And I was looking at them and there was some similarity. And so I just took a picture of each of them, fed them into AI. AI spit out this, what are the systematic issues? And I gave that to the consulting teams. But the process of us getting together in small groups, and to me, when I did my workshop and when I do things online, I always do breakouts. Get people to talk with each other. When we did the crossing the street to talk to strangers things at UU a couple years ago, when this first emerged, you know, I had people sit in a circle and then break into groups of 4 and share their stories of the good experience they had. The energy was incredible. And, you know, Penny has that gift of being able to see energy. And she said the energy just went through the roof. That is the wisdom, the magic of groups getting together. So I think that that's probably a core part of what I'm going to be doing. And I don't know, I've set it up as a polarity, you know, but I don't know that it is. Yes.
All your questions come from needing to know the answer of what something is now. Is has a moment of being what it is. Okay? So you're not going to know if it's global or it's local until you check in to what your is right in the moment. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate AI I'm talking about. When you check in, oh, I need to be sharing this with them. Then you go share it with them, as opposed to saying, okay, I should share it with these people in this business, because then that's just your mind thinking, as opposed to what the need of the community is at the time.
Yeah, and this is a wonderful illustration of the wounds and patterns that I have in my mind that gets in the way of me being able to not analyze that, not try to figure that out. And again, there's the wolves at the door, you know, you got to make payments and all that. And that is the thing that drives me into my complexes. And so, again, thank you for that clarification and that reminder that ultimately I don't have to decide. And I got this from you, and I just illustrated that I've forgotten it, but don't do be.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to bring up. Stop doing, because when you have a doing, then it's got to be done. Right? Being is what's happening in the moment. Who needs my attention? And this is how I flow. It's like I work with 100 people, and most of it's done in the ethers.
Just from which I think is fascinating and awesome. I'm glad you do that.
But
because I can't do that. Somebody's got to do that.
But I never know what's going to come out until I'm meditating, and then I feel it, and it comes up. I'm like, oh, okay, so. And sometimes I'll pick up the phone and I'll chat, and we'll work it out. And they'll say, yes, this is exactly
right.
But sometimes it's done in the ethers, and and I call them up and I'm like, yeah, you gave me this information, and I'm taking it, right?
So Jeff, I haven't seen you for 2 or 3 weeks. I've been traveling and all that, and I show up today, and you say we're going to do this, and this is exactly what I needed. This is exactly what I needed, and I, you know, I love that. I love it. I love to be seen.
This is the yogic way. Is that when you get outside of the thinking and you're just in the moment, you understand what's happening. And you send me beautiful videos, and I'm like, oh, yes, this needs to be talked about.
And to me, Sunday, I was doing kind of my usual routines, and I realized that I was doing my usual routines. And I knew if I did my usual routines, it would end up a certain way. So I caught myself, and I said, I am going to do my usual routines slightly differently. And that slight difference led me on a whole different, beautiful journey that night.
This is stepping out of the box that our mind puts in front of us and saying, what does the universe have to bring for me today? So what's the universe bringing for us on Sunday, October 5th,
So
10:30 a.m.?
Well, there've been a number of teasers in this conversation,
Yes.
and so you'll be primed in order to see that. But we're going to talk about AI for good, and that will entail how AI is a interesting technology that is not about being afraid of. As soon as we get into fear, we drop into our lower bodies rather than our higher selves. And so it's another wonderful opportunity for us to move through that, because we have to feel and experience those fears in order to move through them and not wrap them around ourselves so we identify with them. And so that's what we're going to do. We'll play, and actually this little conversation has kind of inspired me to say, how do I want to do it this time? Because I never do anything twice the same way. So, Jeff, appreciate you having me and this interview, and we'll be talking about AI for good.
All right. Anybody else? If you have something you want to talk about, come join us here on the dock, and we'll do a little Soul Journeys conversation on the other dock. See you next week.